Welcome to part 10 of this CODM tutorial. In this video we will learn how to make a custom display. In the CODM it is possible to make your own custom pages. We can see examples of the custom display possibilities in example custom organs 2 and 6. When we look at example organ 2, we can see custom graphics for the keyboards, the pedals, the swell pedals, the stops, for the labels, and for the background. We also see a row of general combination pistons with a setter switch and general cancel switch. We also see a row of divisional combination pistons for each division. The images used in the example custom organs are from a standard library that comes with Hauptwerk, but you can also use your own images. We can find the standard library images for the CODM in installation package 1. If you are using your own images, you have to place them in a folder in the installation package of your organ. In custom organ 6 we can see an example of left and right jump pages. The left and right jump pages in this organ have an alternate screen layout so that they can be shown both in landscape and in portrait view. Hauptwerk will automatically choose between portrait and landscape view. Let's take a quick look on the different tables for the custom display settings. First we will look in the General table. Here we will find a lot of custom display settings. Here we can define the size of the custom display pages. All custom pages will be this size, unless there is specified a different size in the alternate layout rows below. Here you can define an alternate screen layout, for example a portrait view for left and right jump pages. In these elements you can enable or disable the different standard pages. The default display page ID, here you can define which custom page you want to set as default page. This will be the page that is shown the first time you start up the organ. The next rows are for defining the general combination pistons, setter piston and general cancel piston. You can specify these pistons on two pages, custom display 1 and custom display 2, each with their alternate layout settings. The custom display control style table. All functional controls like stops and cobblers make use of styles. These styles function as templates. In this table you define the styles with images, fonts and other settings. Then you only have to specify the style ID number in the tables for your controls. This applies to stops, cobblers, shortcut pistons, tremulants and enclosures. Each virtual control can be shown on two pages, display 1 and display 2, each with the possibility for alternate layout view. The custom display keyboard style table. Here you can specify styles for keyboards and pedal keyboards. In the division table you can specify which of these styles you want to use for your manuals on your custom page. The custom display label table. Here you can define non-functional static labels for your custom pages. The custom display page table. Here you can define your custom display pages. They will have the size specified in the general table. Now let's make a custom page for the console. We start in a general table with defining the custom display page size. If we set these values to 0, the page will be in the standard size of 1012 by 640. We'll do that for our organ. We don't set an alternate size yet, we will do that later in this video. Enable the standard pages for the controls, we can keep that. For the keyboards, the wind we can set to no, and the enclosures too. The default page. We can set this to 1, the page ID for our custom console page we are going to make now. Now we have to make an entry in the custom display page table. We can copy and paste one from the example organs. We call it display page ID number 1 and console we can keep that. For the background we can use a picture of an organ console like it is done in the freezer organ here. The background picture. But we will just use a simple background. We can find several of those backgrounds in installation package 1. We can use this one, the dark cherry, and that's already specified in our display page table. Since we will use images from installation package 1, we have to add installation package 1 to the required installation package table. Let's do that here. And there we have it in place. So now we can save the file and we can open it in Hauptwerk. When we work with images, just as with sound sample files, we should keep the force organ definition files to be generated marked when we open a custom organ. We don't have to enable the ranks since we only will work with the graphics. And here we can see our console page. It's still empty now, so let's add some manuals and pedal keyboards to the page. In order to add keyboards to our custom page, we first have to make a custom display keyboard style. Hauptwerk already comes with several ready-made keyboard styles. These can be found in example organ 2, ready to copy and paste in your own CODM organ. When we look in the CODM file of example organ 2, we see 8 different keyboard styles, and they have different sizes, like here large, the next one in medium. There are styles for the manuals and there are styles for the pedal keyboards. The image files of these keyboard styles are placed in installation package 1. For our organ we will choose the same keyboard styles as in example organ 2, style 2 for the manuals and style 6 for the pedal keyboard. We copy and paste them from example organ 2 into our CODM file. Here is style number 2 and here is style number 6. Now we have to assign them to the different divisions. We go to the division table and we start with the division for manual 1. Here we see a row for custom display 1 and a row for custom display 2. These are for defining the custom graphics on 2 pages. We will show the keyboards only on 1 page, so we will only fill in values in the row for custom display 1. First we see a row of elements for the divisional pistons. We leave these for now. When we scroll down we see a row of elements for the keyboards. The display page ID is the page we want to show our keyboards on, and that is our console page, which had ID number 1. The keyboard style ID, for manual 1 this should be keyboard style number 2. Now we have to set the position for the keyboard. The X position is the number of pixels counted from the left, and the Y position is the number of pixels counted from the top. We want to have the keyboard centered on the page, so now we first have to find the width of the keyboard. Our 61 keys keyboard has 36 white keys. Keyboard style 2 uses the key image set002 files from the installation package 1. When we look at the images for the white keys, we see that they are 12 pixels wide, times 36 keys makes 432. So our keyboard is 432 pixels wide. Our page is 1012 pixels wide, so that leaves 580 divided by 2 for each side makes 290 pixels on each side. That means for the X coordinate we write 290. For the Y coordinate I will take the same value as in example organ 2, since it has the same page height. And that is 304. Now we can do the same for manual 2. Custom display page ID number 1. The keyboard style ID is also here number 2 for the manuals. The X coordinate is 290. And the Y coordinate also from the same as in example organ 2. For manual 2 is 210. Then we can go to the next manual. Also here page ID 1, keyboard style 2, X coordinate of course still 290, and the Y coordinate from example organ 3 was at 115. And now we can do the same for the pedal keyboard. Also here display page 1, The keyboard style for the pedals was number 6. The X coordinate still 290. And the Y coordinate, we take it again from example organ 2 for the pedal, was 530. Now we can save the file and open it in Hauptwerk. And here we can see the manuals and the pedal keyboard on our console page. For adding stops, labels and other virtual controls, we have to make a custom control style. When we have done that, we can specify the control style ID and other parameters in the virtual control table for the stops, the cobblers, the tremulants or other virtual controls. For the general pistons, general cancel and setter switch, you have to go to the general table to fill in the control style ID. For the division pistons, you have to go to the division table. For labels, we have to make an entry in the labels table, where we can fill in the control style ID. For the placement of the stops and labels and other virtual controls, we have to make a plan where we want to place them and calculate the position in pixels. It can be a good idea to use a graphic design software for trying out the different placements, since it is very time consuming to open your CODM in Hauptwerk for every single change. Since our organ has only few stops, we will make one row of stops for each manual with the tremulant and cobblers at the bottom of the row. At the top of each row we will make a label with the manual name. Let's start with setting up the labels. For the labels I will use the label 1 images from installation package 1. So we need a control style that contains these files. In example organ 2 we can find the ready-made style that uses the label 1 images as control style 39. Here are also specified other parameters like the font type, size and color. Let's copy and paste this control style into our CODM file. Now we have to make an entry in the label table for each label. As we can see, our label table is empty now, so we will just copy one from one of the example organs. Now we'll just have to change some parameters. The name, pedal, for the leftmost row. The display page is 1 and the display text will be pedal. The control style for our labels was 39. And the X position, I calculated this to be 45. And the Y position to 40. Now we have to make a new entry for the label of the next row. We'll just copy this one and change the name to manual 1 for the next row. Display page 1 still, of course, and the display text manual 1. The X position for this label I calculated to 167 and the Y position is still 40. Let's save the file and check how it looks in Hauptwerk. And here we can see the labels in place. Now let's add some stops to the console page. For the stops I will use my own graphics. We have to place these images in a dedicated folder in the installation package of our organ. Now we have to make a control style containing these images. Let's just copy a stop control style from an example organ and change the parameters. Control style ID, we can give it number 1. And the name. The installation package ID is that one for the installation package for our organ. In these 4 elements we can specify the clickable area of the control. They are all specified in pixels counted from the top left of the control. We want to make the whole control clickable, so the left X and the top Y will be 0. We set the right X position to 118, since our stop is 118 pixels wide. We set the bottom position to 36, since our stop is 36 pixels high. Now the whole area of the control is clickable. Some images need a transparency mask. For example, if we look at the stop 1 image in the installation package 1, we see a round stop button. However, image files are square, so now we have a space around the stop in pink. A transparent mask will make the pink borders transparent and show the background. Here we see the mask for file stop 1. The white part will make that part of the image transparent and thus showing the background, while the black part will show that part of the image file. Alternative, you can use PNG files with a transparent background like this one. Then you don't need a mask. Since we will use solid square images for our stops, we don't need a mask. Back to our CODM file, we'll just leave this blank. The number of stages should be 2, one for off and one for on. Image stage 0 is for the stop off image. And image stage 1 is for the stop on image. Now we can define the text parameters. Has text yes. We keep this at Verdana. The font height, we set it to 10. The font weight code is the thickness of the font, 1 is normal and 3 bold. We set it to 1. Not italic, not underlined. The RGB for black is 0 for all these 3 elements. And for white it's 255 for all the 3 elements. We want black text, so we keep it at 0. In these elements we can define the text bounding box. The text will be centered horizontally and vertically within this box. All values are specified in pixels counted from the top left of the image. I will make the bounding box 2 pixels smaller from each side of the image. That makes the left X value 2, the top Y value 2. The right X value should then be 2 pixels less than the width of the image, in our case 116. And the bottom should be 2 pixels less than the height of the image, in our case that will be 34. Now that we have a control style in place, we can add some stops to the page. In the left row for the pedals we have to place the basin 32 stop. For that we go to the stop table and find the basin 32 entry. Here we can fill in the display parameters. The custom display ID is 1. Custom display text, basin 32. The control style ID was 1. And for the position I calculated the X value to 18. And the Y value to 90. Now we can go to the second row for manual 1, where we have to place the stops for the principal 8, the mixture and the cornet. The custom display page ID number 1. Display text principal 8. Control style ID 1. And the X position I calculated to be 154 and the Y position 90. Then to the cornet, display page 1, text cornet, control style ID 1, and the X position 154, and the Y position is here 136. And for the mixture, display page 1, display text, control style 1, X position 154, and the Y position is now 182. Now let's save the file and see how it looks in Hauptwerk. And here we can see our stops, and they are clickable, as we can see here in the controls. Now we can add the rest of the stops. And here are all the stops and labels in place. Now we can add some cobblers. For the cobblers I will use the same images as for the stops, but with green text. In order to find the right color you can use a graphic designer software, but you can also find several RGB color pickers on the internet, like this one. Now that we have our color we can make a new control style. We can just duplicate this one and change the control style ID number, we call it 2, change the name, green text. Now we can set the color, And there we have the control style for the cobblers. Now we go to the stop table and specify the custom display parameters. The display page ID is 1. The display text 12p. The control style is now 2. I will position the cobblers right under the stops. So the X value is 18 for the first row for the pedals, and the Y value is 136. Now let's save it and check how it looks in Hauptwerk. And here we can see the cobbler with the green text. Now we can add the rest of the cobblers. And here are all the cobblers in place. Now we can do the same for the other virtual controls, like adding a switch for the blower, adding a stop for the tremulant, adding shortcut pistons, general pistons and division pistons. Adding general pistons, a general cancel and the setter switch is done in the general table. The general pistons and division pistons are always displayed in rows. The rows can be horizontal or vertical. Each row has a maximum of 20 pistons. Here we can define the general pistons. In the number displayed, we can define how many general pistons we want. And in these elements we can define the X and Y position for the first and the last piston. Here we can define the parameters for the general cancel switch. And here for the setter switch. In the division table you can set up the division pistons for each division. And a divisional cancel switch for each division. Now we will add expression pedals to our page. In order to do that, we first have to make a control style. Example organ 2 comes with 3 control styles for expression pedals using images from installation package 1. But in this organ I will use my own images. These images have to be placed in a folder in the installation package for the organ, as I have done here. Let's set up a control style for the expression pedals. We'll just duplicate this one and give it a new control style ID number 9, a new name, expression pedal. The installation package is the one for our organ, this one. We want the whole image to be clickable. The image is 50 wide and 100 high, so we will write 50 here and 100 here. These images don't need a mask. The number of stages is the number of images showing different positions of the pedal. For expression pedals it is technically enough with 2 stages, but to make the movement of the pedal look smooth it is recommended to have at least 7 stages. And as you can see here we have 12 images, so that will be 12 stages. Now we'll have to fill in the file names. There they are. It has no text, so we can leave all these parameters blank. Now we go to the enclosure table and specify the custom display parameters. The display page is 1. There is no text. The control style is 9. The X position is 460 and the Y position 400. Now we can do the same for the enclosure of the manual 3. Display page 1. Control style 9. The X position 520 and the Y position 400. Now we'll save the file and see how it looks in Hauptwerk. And here we can see our swell pedals. Now we will add left and right jump pages with alternate orientation for portrait view. We have to go to the general table to define the alternate screen layout for portrait view. We will use the same size as the portrait view in example organ 6, 740 by 986. Now we can make a new custom display page. We duplicate this one and change the parameters. Display page number 2, name left jump, the same background, alternate layout will be yes, and the background we can have the same as here. Let's save the file and open it in Hauptwerk. And here we can see our left jump page. And here it is in portrait view. Now we can add stops and labels to our left jump pages. We go to the label entry for the pedal. We have used the custom display 1 elements for the console page. So now we can use custom display 2. The display page ID will be this page number 2 for our left jump page. The text will be pedal. These control style and position values are for the standard landscape layout. The alternate layout is the one we defined for the portrait view. The control style is 39. The X position is 378. And the Y position is 40. Now we can set the alternate layout settings for our portrait view. The control style is also here 39. The X position is 242 and the Y position is 72. Now we can do the same for the other labels and stops. And here we can see our left jump page in landscape view and here in portrait view.